question is I'm thinking about the different ways that my lifestyle has changed my physical body and going to different places to participate in different types of events. And, my kids are in ballet, and sometimes I get together with my book club, and sometimes like every once in a blue moon, I get to have a party at my house. Or, what's happening with the neighbors. Sometimes you do just need to stand out in the yard and talk to the neighbors for a little bit. But it is fairly fragmented at the moment, and it's not different people living like that are behaving in a certain way online than the way they are in their real lives. I think we've got continuity between how we as organisms are out in the world, especially post pandemic. Where our consumption habits have changed, the way that
Absolutely.
we get information, what we are even mentally and emotionally available for is dramatically different than it was in 2017, 2018, with the rise of the membership site. Um,
I thought, for me, I think the big change for me happened in 2016 when all of the, when Donald Trump was elected, to be honest. I feel like
mm,
the capacity that I had for online communication and online conversations changed and shifted dramatically. And the way that I interacted with news and these social media platforms, where some of them were echo chambers and some of them were battlegrounds, and to me that was, I don't want to say like the beginning of the end of social media, but it was a time where it went from being a playground to being a battleground. Um, and and I think that did play out in the way that people were communicating and in the offers that they were making. So you're right. And to go back to where you were going with it, this like online membership space, some of it was in Facebook groups, but some people were then going like, well, I don't necessarily want to be here. With like the decentralization was happening even then. And the way that people were gathering their resources and learning about things went through kind of a paradigm shift. So,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but yes, 2018, 2019 memberships go.
Well, so there was a time when we had this mass adoption of we finally reached a place where enough humans in kind of modern times were had the access to the technology and the ability to use the technology and user experience of all of our computers, of individual like iPads and stuff, just made technology accessible to so many more people. And so there was a real feeling during that period of, oh my gosh, I could learn how to bake sourdough bread. And like I could do that. And there's
Hmm.
people have been baking sourdough bread for thousands of years, but it's always been disseminated through like a person to person, like in person. Then you got to where you could learn it from books, which was very exciting. And then you could watch people on video, which was incredible because like my brain works great for like reading text and then creating the visual out of that. I had no problem. It turns out the majority of people don't do that so great. That's not just like
Hmm.
a super common um
Adult learning is not always meant for written word.
no, it's not.
It's
So
very pragmatic. And like the kinesthetic learning, the hands on learning, visual, audio, like the more you can give people, the easier it is for them to learn. And reading gets harder, when you're not in school anymore and you're not expected to.
yeah, well, and you and I are both readers, so
Yeah.
we're a little bit
But I
biased
mean,
over
like
here.
my 7-year-old, he's a great reader, but there are times where they show him videos and that's what he comes home and talks about because he remembers it better. So I don't want to get
Yeah,
into like an adult learning
yeah,
instructional design conversation here, but this idea that the way that people are processing information, the ways that they are choosing to learn is different. Even when you were talking about the rise of the memberships, I was thinking like, I used to, like I said, sit down on Sunday mornings. I would read through my RSS feed. It was always Sunday mornings because I wanted to see the latest post secret, right? And I would have my laptop because it was pre having an iPad, and I would have my Boston Globe, and I would make myself a cup of coffee, and I would sit on the porch and I would read a physical paper.
yeah.
I had it delivered on Sunday so I could read the physical paper. I don't know, like, my kid just had to do a collage and they were like, "Just cut things out from a magazine," and I was like, "What are magazines?" Right? Like, in the past decade, things have changed. If there's something I
Yeah.
wanna learn, yeah, you and I are both readers, and um I'll go get a book about it, but I'll go get an audiobook about it because it's
Yes.
easier for me to process nonfiction when
Yeah.
it's being told to me. Or I mean, I was telling you, I just learned a whole bunch about polyvagal theory. I got a book out of the library. I was like, this is a little hard for me to process. I went and Googled polyvagal theory in my podcast app and was like, oh, cool. I like this guy. He explains it in a way I understand. And I learned all about it from a podcast. So the
Yeah.
ways, and especially in this kind of fragmented world, we're
Mhm.
in our cars learning. We're not sitting, and part of that might be, kids are growing up and we have less time to sit at our tables and read the Boston Globe. But like the ways that we are acquiring and seeking out learning opportunities has
Yeah.
revolutionarily changed.